Hello everyone! This last lesson of the Introduction to Cryptography course on Wolfram will recap some important points you have learned previously in general relation of cryptography to a larger field of information security. This lesson will discuss the security criteria and requirements in cryptographic algorithms, emphasize on the importance of proper key management, provide a framework to compare the security strengths of different algorithms, discuss the future challenges of the field, and at last recommend literature for those who wish to discover more about this fascinating field of cryptography. Cryptography is a powerful tool that needs to be utilized properly. Like a seatbelt, cryptography will not completely safeguard an information system, but it is indispensable nevertheless. The decision on which cryptographic algorithm to use depends on the purpose and requirements of a particular application. Organizations and developers are presented with many choices in their use of cryptographic mechanisms. It is a non-trivial problem for a single person or entity, such as a software developer or a small business that needs to protect their sensitive data. Inappropriate choices may result in an illusion of security, but little to no real security for the protocol or application. To decrease this burden, respected institutions like NIST periodically publish guidance on which algorithms are considered secure and recommended to use for certain purposes. Determining effective security has to take into consideration many factors about the design of the algorithms, the speed, memory, and capabilities of modern computers. The relative importance of various criteria is very much dependent on the application and the resources available. For example, in an embedded device with limited computing power, one may have to trade off a very high level of security for better throughput. The level of security of cryptographic protocols is difficult to quantify. It can be evaluated under several different models. The most common security metrics are computational, provable, and ad hoc methodology, although the last one is often dangerous. The confidence level in the amount of security provided by a protocol based on computational or ad hoc security increases with time and amount of research and investigation of the scheme. The computational security model was discussed in Lesson 8, titled Measuring Security. According to this model, the level of security is defined by the amount of work necessary to defeat the intended objective, like confidentiality or integrity. This work factor is often given in terms of the number of operations required, using the best attack methods currently known. If you recall, in Lesson 8, you have computed the time it would take to brute force AES is significantly longer than the age of our universe. Cryptographic primitives often need to be combined to meet various information security objectives of a particular application. In Lesson 21, titled Hybrid Cryptography, you saw a practical example of how combining hash functions with symmetric and public key cryptography can achieve much more than any of its building blocks alone. Which algorithms are most effective for a given objective is determined by their basic properties. It is important to use the appropriate algorithms for each objective. Hash functions will not provide confidentiality the way encryption does, and encryption may or may not guarantee integrity. When applied in various ways with various inputs, cryptographic algorithms will typically exhibit different behavior and could provide very different functionality depending on their mode of operation, usage, or input parameters. You saw an example of this in Lesson 13, titled Block and Stream Ciphers, when comparing the effect of different block modes on the output of a symmetric cipher. An example presented in Lesson 13 showed how IAS encryption can give drastically different results and security based on whether the ECB or CTR block mode of operation was chosen. Performance refers to the efficiency of an algorithm on average or in a particular mode of operation. For example, an encryption algorithm may be rated by the number of bits per second it can process or how fast the key generation is. For instance, an elliptic curve key generation can be 100 times faster than that of RSA. Some algorithms also deliberately trade performance for better security. You saw an example of this in the previous lesson, password storage. The key derivation functions are designed to be slow on purpose to make the attacker's task of password cracking much more time-consuming. The ease of implementation criterion refers to the difficulty of realizing the primitive in a particular instantiation, including the complexity of implementing the primitive in either software or hardware environment. Algorithms that are seemingly easy to implement are often deceptive, as developers who choose to use their own implementation instead of public battle-tested libraries in reality have their systems under an illusory sense of security, unaware of bugs and pitfalls. You saw an example of this in Lesson 19, Security of RSA, where a naive implementation of RSA was explained step by step. Cryptographic keys play an important part in the operation of cryptography. The proper management of cryptographic keys is essential to the effective use of cryptography for security. Poor key management may easily compromise strong algorithms. Remember that a tough bank wall will not protect the gold inside if the lock combination is written on a sticky note next to it. As a minimum, symmetric and private keys need to be protected against unauthorized access and disclosure. And all keys, including public keys, need to be protected against modification, accidental or intentional, throughout the key's secure generation, storage, distribution, use, and finally destruction processes. Cryptographic keys today are used across a broad range of systems and applications, and managed by developers and system administrators who often do not have expertise in key management. For this reason, well-established standardization institutions like NIST and ISO regularly establish frameworks and provide guidance for proper key management. A longer key generally offers a better security level within a specific encryption scheme. However, the key size is not a good metric for comparison of two different encryption schemes, because each cipher has its own characteristics and methods of attack. A symmetric RSA using 2048-bit key does not mean it is 10 times more secure than symmetric IAS with a 256-bit key. Even though symmetric and asymmetric crypto systems and hash functions differ substantially in principles of design and operation, the level of security they offer can be compared by the difficulties of the best-known attacks. Two algorithms are considered to be of comparable strengths for the given key size if the amount of work needed to break the algorithms or determine the keys is approximately the same using a given resource of the attacker. Being able to compare cryptographic algorithms by this metric is essential for building information security systems, as they often need to employ more than one algorithm at a time. Examples of such systems include VPN, HTTPS, SSH, and hundreds of others. These protocol suites combine hashing, secret key encryption, and public and private keys to achieve specific goals, and no step in such protocols should be weaker than the rest. When a cryptographic protocol employs multiple algorithms, the resulting security it can provide is equal to the security of the weakest algorithm. Cryptography is a constantly evolving field, and algorithms considered secure today may not be considered as such in a 5 to 10-year time frame. While no one can foresee the future, it is possible to keep an eye on the situation and try one's best to take care of the existing and potential concerns. For instance, there has been much research and investment into quantum computers, the devices that use superposed quantum states to perform a large number of computations simultaneously. It has been proven by Peter Shor that both factoring, as in breaking RSA, and discrete logarithm, as in breaking elliptic curves, would become easy if a sufficiently large quantum computer could be built. A large-scale quantum computer still remains a significant engineering challenge, and the question of whether one can be built is a complicated one. Regardless, the preparation and standardization of information security systems to the potential arrival of the quantum computing era has already begun. There already exist cryptographic mechanisms resistant to attacks by quantum algorithms that are based on lattices, error-correcting codes, and other approaches. Cryptanalysis has long instantiated itself as an integral part of cryptography. It is a continuous research into properties and weaknesses of cryptographic algorithms by some of the world's smartest pure mathematicians and computer scientists, like Alan Turing during the World War II. Like Enigma in the 40s or MD5 more recently, both fell victim to cryptanalysis, and any other algorithm that is a gold standard today may suffer the same fate. For instance, asymmetric cryptography algorithms are based on number theoretical problems that are being studied intensively. The studies may well result in faster non-quantum algorithms for factorizations or discrete logarithms that would render RSA and elliptic curves insecure even before quantum computers are a realistic threat. In practice, very few attacks on systems involve cryptanalysis in the sense of mathematical attack on the encryption algorithm. Most attacks nowadays exploit the implementation or side channels such as timing and power analysis. While such exploits are not directly cryptography's fault, they are worth a mention, as they can render a mathematically unbreakable protocol useless or circumvent the cryptographic protections altogether. Most current information systems utilize software implementations of cryptographic algorithms, and software is written by humans and is inherently prone to logical errors and other bugs. One of the most infamous examples is the heartbleed bug in OpenSSL implementation of transport layer security. This vulnerability was introduced to OpenSSL in December 2011 and has been out in the wild since March 2012. When exploited, this bug leads to the leak of memory contents from the server to the client, and vice versa, including encryption keys, usernames, passwords, personal or financial details. The bug was discovered, exposed to the public, and fixed only 2 years later with a new OpenSSL release in April 2014. The worst part, at the time of discovery, an estimated share of over 65% of the world's web servers were affected, and it is not known how many may have been abused and for how long. Years later, there are still some systems that have not updated their software with a fixed version, so this bug may still be exploited despite being widely known. The Common Vulnerabilities and Exposures database helps define, consistently describe, catalog, and raise awareness of publicly known information security issues. The database was set up in 1999 and currently lists over 165,000 records. To wrap this course up, I would like to list some of the sources that were most helpful in my own journey to discover and fall in love with cryptography. For example, Handbook of Applied Cryptography by Menezes, Orshodt, and Wanstone is an extensive work that focuses rigorously on the mathematical detail and theoretical background. Computer Security and Cryptography by Alan Conheim covers cryptographic algorithms in a much more technical manner. Applied Cryptography by Bruce Schneier is a classic from a practitioner's standpoint, and it also includes the implementations of dozens of cryptographic algorithms in C. Security Engineering by Ross Anderson covers a lot of ground in information security with real-world case studies. And finally, Code Breakers by David Kahn and the Code Book by Simon Singh are great for those who are interested in historical context and the evolution of the field. I hope you enjoyed this course, and thank you for following until the end.